What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. I've talked to a few engine builders and I sent videos about my concern on one of the main journals that spun on that old crank, and they said that it's really not that bad on the journal other than that little gouge, which I'll show you in a minute. But they say to send it down with 400 grit and it should be fine. Plastic gauge it a few times, make sure we're still within specs. And I was checking out the crank earlier. Oh, this thing's heavy. So the main journal that, like, it didn't spin, it just was like out of shape, and it's this guy here. But if you look at it, it's the most shiniest one out of all of the crank journals, which is weird. And there aren't like any deep gouges or scoring in this journal, which is what's like confusing me. But we're not going to use this crank just in case, and if I do want to salvage this crank, I'll just send this one to the machine shop. But to get the ball rolling on this project, I've mentioned a few times before that I have a perfect ITR crank wrapped up in this bag, chilling in this corner for the longest time, and that's what we're going to use for this rebuild. So before we get into that, if you guys saw the last video, I threw in a little bonus clip, and we were at my buddy's shop in the middle of the night. Picked up a few things from him, or actually he gave me a few things for free. So I went out to his place, grabbed some things that he was clearing out from his shed, and we're gonna be headed back there this weekend to try to like grab more things. But I'm gonna show you some of the stuff that we got from his place. He's clearing everything out to move to Texas, and a lot of the stuff aren't going other than his toolbox. And first and foremost, he hooked it up with the snap-on roller, which is kind of broken right here, but it's not a big deal because I can fix that. And he said, you know what, this is going to help you when you go to your junkyard and not have to carry my bag all the time. So this he gave to me. Now his shop was his money maker, you know, all the maintenance stuff, gaskets, head gaskets, transmission jobs, clutch jobs, brake jobs, and first and foremost, we have a ton of brake pads, EF, DAs, mostly EF and DAs, but also Integras, 9091 Civic EX, and throttle body, test pipe. We got a catch can, stuff that he felt that I may be needing soon, more brake pads, even more brake pads. This right here is a QSD alternator relocating kit, kind of one step closer on the H build. This right here is a DA, which I am sure is the same for the EF inner strut rod bushing. This is for the stock traction bar that has a 2 bushing in between the rod, and this is like all the urethane stuff. We got valve cover gasket set for B series VTEC. We got K series valve cover gasket. We got some GSR timing belt, which is going to come in clutch for that. We got B series oil pan gasket. This right here is pretty cool. If you guys have seen the OG Fidanza flywheel, this is the replacement for it. And I've had a blue Fidanza flywheel a long time ago, also a silver one with the face super warped. This would have came in clutch, but I sold that a long time ago. We got a donut gasket, since I do exhaust work for everybody in the group, and a bunch of oil filters for the van and the pickup truck. Right here we have Hastings 81.5 mil piston ring set, and I can't use that until I get a block bored over 81.5 like this guy. But he also hooked it up with this right here, Acura Integra Type R pistons with coated skirts, so it looks like this guy right here, like so, right? And this is 81.5 with his own piston ring set. This is gonna like encourage me to build another 81.5 mil block. That's an 81.5 mil CSS block. And then he also hooked it up with another set of NPR rings, which are the same as these two trash guys right here, right? But this one's in spec. And when we get to this block today, I'm gonna show you guys that this is more in spec than these two brand new ones I just bought, and this at his house for years. And then he sold me a GSR Skunk 2 intake manifold, because I have a spare GSR head without a manifold, and he also hooked it up with the Eric's Racing throttle body, which is super dope, and gave that to me for 60 bucks. But as I was walking around his shop looking for more things to pick on, Chewy actually went with me yesterday, and he paid the man behind my back. So Chewy, bro, truly appreciate it, man. Thank you. So aside from this, my buddy Ming gave me everything here for free, and you know me, I can't turn stuff down like that. So I feel like when I go back to his house this weekend, we're gonna have a lot more inventory. Oh, and I cannot forget this DIY at-home camber adjustment tool. This thing is pretty cool. For when I do like the all-wheel drive, trailing arm, swap in, swap out, I do my own like eyeball alignment tool, which I actually use my like RC drift car like camber tool with an extended piece of wood to flatten up against the wheel. This has always worked out for me to, you know, drive to the alignment shop and get my alignment straightened, right? But this will be kind of more dialed. So you adjust the height right here, bring it up, down, lock it into the rim, and then zero this out, see where the camber sits, adjust accordingly. So that's a neat tool to have. Thank you, Ming, again for that. All right, guys, so before I even proceed with this, given my issue with the deck height of my CRX's engine, this is like the first thing of all things before proceeding to build a motor. So I got 0.0015 right here, the lowest one on my feeler gauge set, and I'm gonna check it quickly. It goes maybe like the tip of the feeler gauge here, barely goes through. This one kind of goes through a little bit, but not really. This one, same thing. Nothing, right? Go ahead and go through this real quick. Okay, so this is well in spec. I think the maximum is like 3,000 or something like that, but given that this is the lowest one I have on my feeler gauge, 0.0015, and it barely goes through any of the surfaces to the straight edge, we're good here. Warning, I am not a professional engine builder. So a couple videos now, I was talking about how I was having issues with finding the correct ring gaps for my setup. This is OEM rebuild. I am keeping it standard 81 mil, and this was the first kit I bought. Top ring was like okay, like the maximum you'd want to be on the top rings, and the second ring was 35 thousandths, and way too big, way past service limits. So I ordered a second set like a dummy, right? Same kit, and same thing like that guy. It has the top ring like at the max you'd want to be at. The bottom ring was 035, way out of spec, and that became trash. So then I ordered Y-Scos when I ordered this guy, and these two guys came at the same time. These Y-Scos were at the peak spec but within spec. So the top ring was about 14, the bottom ring was about, I think, 21. So this was going to be my choice, you know. And then I went to my buddy's house last night, got this set of rings. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this. So I'm gonna show you guys, because I haven't shown you guys. I'm gonna stick all of this inside the cylinder now and show you the readings at this guy, which is identical to those two, and show you guys how well these rings are in spec. So I'm gonna show you guys again. This box part number is SWH30373ZZ, right? And this is the same rings, SWH30373ZZ, right? This has been sitting at my friend's house for years. This I just bought new, right? Inside here we have the secondary rings, and you can tell the difference between the top ring and secondary rings is that the rings have scrapers on one side of it because it's supposed to scrape oil down the cylinder walls when the piston is going back down. These are top rings, and again, NPR made it dummy proof. The seals on the bag says first, and then the other one says second. So I'm gonna throw this chart back on the screen. B18C 1 ring specification, and it says second ring. It's supposed to be at 16 to 22 thousandths of an inch, and right here I have 14 thou, and I'm gonna show you guys that 14 is a real snug fit. Cylinder 4, cylinder 3, cylinder 2, snug, and cylinder 1, snug. 15 actually only goes in halfway, so that's good, and that means we have a lot of room to play to get it into our specification. Probably gonna put it like 16, 17, loose 16, something like that, just so we can throw a lot of miles on this before the ring goes down to its maximum specification. So 15 is like halfway in there. So that's awesome. We'll switch these second rings out for the first top rings. So I have 14 thou right here, and it goes in really easily. It's not a snug fit, so maybe 15, which is already past like specification, but not service limits. So here's 15 snugged, 15 snugged, snugged. Like, it gets really tighter once it goes towards the cylinder wall. This one's really snugged, snug 15. But according to the chart, service limits for the top ring is 24 thousandths of an inch, so we still have a long ways to go. So these top rings are fine, they're still well within specification, but if it really bothered me, one of those set right there got a 13 in it and tight 14, so you know what I'm saying, like I can always swap them out if I wanted to. They are the same brand and they are the same company. I don't think it's a big deal. Forgot about these little guys. Gotta remove them before I ball hone because I don't want to mess up that tip while in the process. So right here we have a flex hone, and this was recommended to me by my buddy Victor. It says right here GB 3 1/4 up to 83 mil bore, part number GB 314400. I ordered this from Amazon, and I know it works well because my cousin did it on his block. I had him tape this rod of the flex hone to know how far that disc goes down to the cylinder. This right here is the top deck. So on the back of the box, instructions are listed. It says 1, use 1030 weight or flex hone oil. You can use WD-40. 2, have the tool rotating upon entry and removal of the cylinder so you don't cause like straight line scratches. And then 3, recommended RPM range is 500 to 800 RPMs, and I'm gonna use my drill on low setting. Right here we got 4, use 60 to 120 strokes per minute depending on RPM. Final stroking may be accelerated to develop a 45-degree crosshatch. The goal is to have like a nice wide crosshatch, not a like close crosshatch, like a fine versus coarse crosshatch. I'll show you guys once we achieve what we're looking for. Honing time should be approximately 20 to 45 seconds per cylinder, and I'm probably gonna do like 10-15 to get the hang of it because I haven't really used this tool before. When you're using this tool going in and out of the cylinders, you got to go with a fast stroke motion, not a slow one, because then that will, like, I guess it would scratch deeper into the cylinder walls, and that's not good. Make sure your cylinder walls are clean, and this is actually WD-40. I have one of those big 1 gallons that I just pour in here and spray away. So spread this out through the cylinder walls, give it a good twirl. Same thing for the flex hone. Lubricate this, And this is gonna be my first time honing a block out, so here we go. Not shabby. This is a 100% cotton rag, brand new out of the package. It still has some very fine lint on it, but I'm going to double check everything before I install anything to make sure there aren't any lint. Another good thing to use is an old worn out like 100% cotton shirt, because then all the lint is not on there anymore. I'm going to try to pull the flex hone out a little bit past the deck to kind of get this skirt up here. It cleaned up most of it, but still a little bit right there. It's got a good hatch in it. I can't tell 45 degrees, but they aren't close to each other. I think these came out all right. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but you can see how the cross hatches are more of a wide X instead of like more finer, where their lines are more closer. And I think this will do the job. I went back, cleaned them all up. I did this one more time and this one more time, but they look and appear to be all even. They should be ready to go.